What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall markets, talk about some earnings coming out for next week, what's going on with some economic data, not to mention the charts for SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. Let me just mention I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, for SPY, for the past 3 days, SPY has been on fire, going from about 542 a share all the way up to about 554, which is where we are right now. Absolutely exploding, and the squeeze is likely going to once again continue over time. But the question is, are we about to see a little bit of a retracement off this resistance at 555 and then a continuation higher, or are we about to get a rejection? I'll be talking about some very important scenarios and how you should be looking at this going into next week. But next week is going to be very important because we have a big move coming due to lots of data. So let's first talk about the data, the earnings, and all the other stuff before I break down the charts. So for Monday, coming out for next week, we don't have much coming out, just inflationary expectations data. For Tuesday, we actually have a couple of Fed speakers. Then we have Jerome Powell giving a testimony. This might affect the market at 11 o'clock a.m. once he gives his speech or gives his opening remarks. But I do believe that Jerome Powell's words are just very redundant. He's not saying anything too crazy or out of the ordinary, just the same old things about how the Fed has to wait and see what data gives us. But when he gives his testimony, we will see what happens if there are questions or anything else is asked and what he ends up saying in response to a lot of different things. And on Wednesday, Jerome Powell's giving another speech, so this might cause more volatility as well. Then we also have on Thursday CPI data coming out, not to mention PPI on Friday. So every day we have something big coming out, from PPI to CPI to Jerome Powell's speeches. We'll have to see what all of these end up leading to. That's going to be very important for next week. Also, for next week, we're going to kick off earnings season, especially on Friday. So what's happening is all the earnings will be very, very minor for the first 4 days. And then on Friday, things get very, very serious. Do not forget that we actually have, like Manchester United. We have, WD-40 on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have like PepsiCo and Delta. Once again, everything's very minor for the first 4 days. But then finally on Friday, we have Wells Fargo, Citi, JP Morgan Chase, a bunch of these big bank earnings. That's going to cause a very, very big move as well on Friday. So I can't wait to see what the data leads to. It's going to be very, very important for the markets. Now, moving forward, the market is now shifting once again, not just to neutral, but it's getting closer to greed. So you guys can see how greed is now making up sentiment, and we're starting to see a lot more buyers stepping in. Extreme greed makes up momentum as we're still well above our key moving averages. And finally, the put to call ratios actually continue to kind of dip right here for the option chain right now for the overall market as we're seeing more buyers stepping in. And the VIX is once again at this very, very low level, hasn't even broken the 50 daily moving average. It's still looking relatively weak. So the market is still favoring bulls by a long shot. I just want to be a little bit careful with SPY because we're at this 555 resistance. If we do get a rejection here, we'll have to just wait and see if 555 is going to be a very significant level. If we just break through this, I think we're easily going up to about 556 and 557.5. Those will be my next two targets if we end up breaking through 555. It's very simple to watch for. Just be very patient on the chart and see if we end up breaking that level. If we fail to do so, if we don't break that immediately, watch and see how we end up holding above 553.75. If that fails, let's look at 552, then 550. Now, I want to note that if we do end up coming back down to 550, this is actually a very significant level. This is where we had these resistance levels, and our breakout area was right here. See the big blue line right here? That's the resistance. That's now going to become our support. So if we were to test that, it would be very probable as we kind of test this and then try to bounce if that ends up happening. So we'll just have to wait and see what the reaction is, but just know that we're going to be testing 550. I'm sorry, 555. Sorry, guys, not 550. 555 will be tested most likely, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not off of that. It's going to be a very, very key level. Now, we've been, continuing to push very, very hard. The market is still very bullish. There's no sign of us rejecting quite yet. So I'm going to wait and see what the move is, at least in the very beginning. My gut tells me it might actually come down a bit before it tries to rebound, but overall, we're still bullish. So whether we get a little retracement and then bounce, or if we just continue going from here, we still look bullish nonetheless. Also, Tesla is still very strong. It's still holding up very well, at least around and above this resistance level. We're going to likely continue to consolidate a bit longer at this 250 area, but I still believe in the potential in Tesla stock. To turn back to bearish, you want to see it lose 242. If we continue to hold up where we are, we're going to be completely fine. So there's plenty of buyers stepping in for Tesla to buy the dips. If it were to dip again, which I think might happen on Monday, we kind of dip a bit, but then buyers will defend, and we might see a lot of consolidation at this 250 area. For Nvidia, I'm seeing a little bit of weakness. We kind of rejected off this 129 area. We're looking at the support around this 125 zone. If we lose this, I'll be looking at 122.8. So we'll be watching to see how things end up developing from here. If we hold our 50 EMA at 124.8, we could try to rebound. So I'll be watching to see how things end up progressing. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin is once again trying to rebound. If we break past 57,000, I'll be looking for a big push for 58,000 plus. If you reject here, we'll be dipping lower, but I'm seeing potential for a little bounce right here, which could be more positive for Coinbase. Just like SPY, the QQQ is breaking out. Just know our very important level is actually going to be around this, basically very close to about this 488 to 490 area, which is where we got this breakout, very close to 490. So I would say that if we manage to continue to hold up above 495, we favor bulls, and we're going to likely go all the way up towards 498. If we end up losing 494, however, I think there's a risk of us dropping very hard back down towards like 490. So I'll watch and see, do we hold above 494? Do we end up losing 495? Look for a retest of 495 next week. See if we bounce or not. That's going to be pivotal, and I'll talk more about that later on. Looking at Aapl, we're still very bullish. We actually approached 227. If we break that, we're going up to about 230. If we fail to do so, we're going to retrace a bit. But overall, the chart is still very parabolic. It's still very strong. There's no sign of a big rejection quite yet. So I still favor the bulls a bit more in this overall trend. Is it possible we dip a bit? I think we might get a little retracement. Then we'll see if we get a bounce or not and where this bounce happens at. Could be a key Fibonacci bounce, or it could be just a bounce off key resistance. It really depends on if we get that rejection or not. I'll be talking more about that probably later on. But I just wanted to call that out. But nonetheless, Apple is holding up very well. Supermicro, this is also just consolidating right now at this 840 area. We closed very decently, so there's actually a good chance this might rebound for about 860 next week. It really depends if it could hold above this trend line or not. Overall, it has some potential. I'm going to double check this. We have Palantir looking a little bit more bullish. This breaks out, we're going to be looking for a test of 27.5, looking pretty good to me. AMD is looking a little bit more on the bullish side. I think that because we got this nice breakout right here, we could be approaching once again 74 again. But the last time we hit the 74 area, we did reject a bit. So I'm thinking that what's going to happen is we kind of pop a bit, then drop back down to at least 169, and then we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. But look for a little retracement before anything else. For Coinbase, this is kind of tricky. We're just barely on this line right here. We're riding this line higher and higher and higher. Instead of bouncing off this, we actually gapped below it, only to get bought back up above it. So it's very tricky. If we hold above this, look for 228 plus. If we lose this, we're easily dipping down towards, I would say, this 215 area. So in my opinion, it looks like it was trying to rebound, might try to go higher, does favor upside a bit more. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Amazon got a decent close. As long as we can break 200 again, we're easily going up to 202. We have a bullish wedge forming. Amazon is favoring the upside. Meta is also favoring the upside. If we could try to break past 840, I think we could be looking for 844 as our next target. I'm sorry, 544. Excuse me, guys. 544 would be the next target. As long as we break past 540, we look bullish overall. For Microsoft, if we manage to break past 468, I'm going to be looking for about 470. If we lose 464, look for a little retracement for 459. We look bullish nonetheless. For Google, we're also looking quite bullish. If we break past 172, we're easily going up to 174. If we reject here, we're going to be dipping down to about 190, but overall, we look more and more bullish. So that being said, I think that the bulls have a much bigger edge, at least for now in the market, at least for these big tech stocks. But let me just call out the resistance that SPY and the QQQ are going to be approaching. They're approaching some tough levels, so I wouldn't be surprised if we retrace just a little bit. If we do get that little retracement, we'll see if where the buyers start to defend. But overall, I just want to see the buyers are still in control. So even if we do get a little retracement, we retrace just a little bit, the market could still rebound, and so far it's favoring the bulls. We will see if there are any shifts for now, but just know the bulls have a bigger edge. All right, so that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I want to kind of conclude this video quickly because it is a Friday. Hope you guys have a very spectacular weekend. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for another update. Thank you for listening, and peace out.